Okay. Effort 7 to get this episode done. I've completely recorded it, had uploading failures, completely recorded it again, got interrupted, recorded it. Format issue. Either Murphy's Law is out to get me today, or I have grievously offended some cosmic energy, or God, or demigod, or whatever. I have a gremlin in. I can't even blame the computer, because half the time it's not even the computer's fault. If you get another hairball, I swear to you, I will turn you into slippers. Ugh. Civically Minded Nationalist, Episode 8, State of the Union Response. They will drink the sand. That's what we're going to call it. Killing me. Okay. I have notes. Mind you, my computer's printer head is dirty and will not clean or write itself, so I have to constantly click back and forth. But here's my response to the State of the Union. First off, I'll just go ahead and open up with, I know I have upset people on my Facebook, my personal Facebook account. I understand, I'm in the interest of not being a hypocrite, I understand fully that one of my flaws is I do not give credit where credit is due. I fully understand that. You are correct. There were good things in the State of the Union last night, and we're going to talk about those good things. We are also going to talk about why your box theory is dead. He's not putting anyone in a box anymore because he had the perfect opportunity to do so. And we're going to talk about the fact that he's clearly not looking to run on anything except economic principle, because that was a message of appeasement. Plain and simple. And I know you're all focusing on the highlights and this, that, and the other, but he said this and he did that, and Nancy almost spit out her dentures. Yes. Doesn't matter. It doesn't, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's get into it. Before something else happens, chances are I'm going to condense this down a lot. So it's not going to be the 55-minute video. The two times I did get it recorded correctly, it was about 55 minutes. It's not going to be that, I don't think. Lord knows I've had enough practice to be able to streamline what I'm going to say. I'm going to be unpopular for this video, okay? If there was ever a chance that this was going to take off and actually become something, it's going to be dead after this, and I don't care. I'm not doing this to win a popularity contest. I'm doing this because these are the things that need to be said and the reality that needs to be shown, the light of reality that needs to come about and expose what is actually happening. Get the partisan reactions out of here. That's what I'm doing, and I'm doing it not... The reason I'm doing it is because I don't ascribe to being a Democrat or a Republican. I am a constitutionalist. And last night, the Constitution was not defended. I believe that the closest thing on this planet to true freedom, to a confining system of government that restricts the government's authority and ensures that the rights of the people are not violated, the closest we have ever come to that is the U.S. Constitution. I believe that so ardently that I believe it is imperative that very soon we apply hindsight to the Constitution, close the loopholes, strengthen the writing, the language that needs strengthening, and to reinstitute it as the law of the land so that we have a chance to have some long-standing beacon or bastion of freedom. I believe the founding fathers were right. I believe all their worries were justified. I believe that the correct courses of action were not taken. And it's obvious now that there are certain arguments they were spot on with and certain arguments they completely whiffed. Not that the argument wasn't present, but that they didn't go with that argument. Wrapping this up, the introduction here, let's just get into the positives of last night, okay? There were some really, really good positives last night. He was able to harp on his economic strengths, which we already knew. I mean, the guy's an economic powerhouse. We already know this. Unemployment is down. Jobs are up. You can't have one without the other, obviously. You can sit here and break it in. He fell into this trap several times. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, the trap of this, the trap of that." No, the trap he fell into was division. Black unemployment is up. Hispanic unemployment is up. This is up. That is up. Can just American unemployment be down? Can American employment rates be up? Please, just American. Why is that so hard? Anyways, we're going to talk more about that pitfall that he fell into later. He nailed those points. He nailed that the tax rates are improving. Let's face it, our tax system is an abysmal train wreck. It's worthless. But unless you Herman Cain this and do like a 7 flat or a 9 flat or whatever, you're not fixing the tax system. He's working with a broken shell of incompetency, but he's making it work as best as he can. That's a good thing. I like that he hit that. There's nothing negative that can be construed about his stance from an economics standpoint. Economics were nailed. And the situation, not just on the domestic standpoint, the economic situation is not just handled on a domestic standpoint. We're talking about international standpoint as well. We've got tariffs going in and going out in the correct places, doing the right things that they're supposed to be doing. Things are working much, much better. NAFTA's gone. We're replacing it with something that actually works for Americans. That's a good thing. China, nope, you're done. We're going to do what we need to do now. Those have impact. That has impact all over that part of the world. By the way, not just China, Korea, Taiwan, Japan, even Russia to an extent. All of those things are very, very good things. We're coming out ahead. Americans are being put first from an economic standpoint. And that's a good thing. Moving right along with the positive things, we've got... Actually, you know what? Hand in hand with that. Strike that. Hand in hand with that, I would like to go into the absolute energy beast that we are today. And this was overlooked somewhat. This did not get nearly the recognition it deserves. Depending on who you look at, we are either one of the premier or the premier energy exporting country in the world today. We are no longer tied to anyone else's oil, anyone else's natural gas. Nothing of that nature dictates how we get our power anymore. And that's a great thing. I want everybody to understand how fantastic that is. Why? Well, you're actually already seeing the main gains that we're going to have from that, which is the economy. The economy is run off of our energy. And if our energy is independent, we're not rifling money out to bring energy in. We're creating our own. We're using our own. It's coming from an American energy business to an American manufacturing business, to an American economic business, okay? That is imperative in our success right now. Those things have been brought about by one specific thing, by one specific stance, okay? And by one specific practice that wasn't even, it was discussed in one half of a run-on sentence last night. That's the only time this topic was discussed. And we're going to bring that up here in just a little bit. I'm going to actually put a note in right here to make sure I don't forget it. Watch this. Here goes the note. As soon as my computer catches back up to me. And we're going to come back to that when we get down to that part of my outline here. Very, very good things. Continuing moving forward on that front to something not so related. Military strength. We are better now than we have been in a very, very long time. No question about it. You can't argue it. It's a good thing because right now we have a lot of people interested in doing harm to us. If you think China is happy about what's going on, no, they're not. They're professional about it. They're not happy. Russia is fuming mad. If you think, because you heard him mention this ICBM or mid-range, including mid-range ballistic missile arms treaty that we had with Russia that we have backed out of. First and foremost, Russia backed out of it first. I haven't heard any criticism about that, and I'm kind of surprised. I thought for sure liberals would be like, he's going to get us in a war with Russia! Which would have been hilarious. I guess technically they can't do that because he's supposed to be a pawn of Russia. Kind of shot themselves in the foot with that. But in the event that anyone's dumb enough to, not put two and two together, feel free to tell them, actually, Russia backed out of that first. We just kind of followed suit. That's really, Russia's not happy about that. Why? Because that means that Russia is now open to development on these kinds of things. As Russia opens to development, what does that mean? That means in Europe, with our allies, not only are the other partners in NATO going to be responsible for funding and upgrading their own air defense systems, but we're going to enhance our air defense capabilities in Eastern Europe. You can be sure of it. And Russia doesn't want that. The whole benefit of Russia being able to have that treaty was so that we would not, in fact, continue to put interceptor systems in Eastern Europe. That's gone now. That's a good thing. I like it. I'm a fan of it. As long as we continue to keep our nose out of everyone else's business, I'm good with it. I'm fine with it. We're not the world's police officers, okay? What happens to the Ukraine and, all that kind of stuff, that's their problem to deal with. They've had plenty of time to right their wrongs and do what they needed to do to bulk up. They didn't do it. That's their problem. These are all good things. Period. You can't look at this stuff in a negative light. All of that is very positive. And I really wish I had more to talk about, because my faith in this administration would have been restored through one simple act, one simple discussion. Because that simple act and discussion would have chained into multiple other things, and it would have actually put a spine behind saying we will never be a socialist country. Saying I will never shave my beard off again. Did that just bind me to never shaving No, I can go shave my beard off. I can shave it off tomorrow. I can shave it off next week. I can shave it off 10 years from now. That's stupid. We will never be a socialist country. Fluff. Fluff. That's just fluff. And it's way too fluffy, by the way. That's where we're going to start transitioning now. I'm sorry, my nose is just driving me nuts today. I got allergies like you wouldn't believe. The point is, with all this fluff that has occurred, and I don't mistake, I gave you an example of fluff, but let's clarify. I know I have an emotional disconnect. Business is business, personal is personal, emotional is emotional, and you don't blur those lines, okay? In my State of the Union, ideally for me, if I got to pick how it worked, the cop who got shot 7 times, the kid beating cancer, the World War II vets, the Holocaust survivors, help me out here. There were other ones that were there. The angel moms, all all those people, and I know this is a staple of State of the Unions in recent history, I don't need any of that. You want to harp on all that kind of stuff, do that somewhere else. I don't need it. But even still, because I understand that people need emotional connections to the speech itself, that's not the fluff I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fluff, irrelevant double talk. And he made a lot of the things, a lot of his strong points, he nullified. One of the strong points he didn't nullify was when he said, we are ushering in an era where American products will be made on American soils, put on American shelves, with a stamp made in America on it, okay? That series, I know that's paraphrased and condensed, that series was the singular highlight because he didn't double back on it. He said it emphatically. He said it with passion. He said what he needed to say, and he didn't at any point undercut what he was saying. You can't say that about anything else, including we will never be a socialist country. We were born free. We will stay free. You undercut that. The other things you said during the speech make that irrelevant. And that's the fluff I'm talking about. And we're going to get into that, okay? I would like to address two things. And the first couple times I did this, I did it the other way around. We're going to start with the first elephant in the room. That isn't an elephant at all, it's a donkey. It's liberalism in this country. For those who have followed me for a long time, you know that I consider liberal, socialist, communist ideology to be on par, hand in hand, with Islamic ideology. You know that I see no radicalization of either ideology because at their cores, what they stand for is what everyone tries to segregate into being radicalized. There's no radicalization. That's what in essence they believe. That's what they teach. That's what they practice. That's what they enforce. Okay? Let's look at a few things here. This is where I'm not going to go linearly through the speech anymore. This is where I'm going to take chunks of topics as a central thought bubble, and everything else is going to come off of that. And then we're going to make the point out of that. I know when my brain works like that, not a lot of people care for it. Try to follow me and stay with me. I have my outline here. I'm going to do my best to keep it as organized as I can, but these arguments are not linear. They can't be, because they lose their impact due to the way the speech was presented. I would like to first start off by talking about liberalism in this country. Last night, you had Democrats dressed up as a modernized KKK. I know that wasn't what they thought they were putting out there, but that's what pretty much anyone with two gray cells has put together. Okay? That's what the costume, wardrobe decisions have boiled down to. That wasn't the point they were trying to communicate. But yet, due to their short-sightedness, that's what happened. Also, due to their short-sightedness, you had a situation where this president was trying to complement them by playing their own game. Division. We were talking about the jobs, so now we're going to talk about how many of those jobs were taken by women. 58%? Someone fact check me, something like that. I think he said 58%. Due to the efforts of making sure that women are a major force in today's workforce. Something like that, whatever he said afterwards. And he hands these white-clad Democrat women on a platter a compliment. He's trying to appease them. They didn't have jack to do with it. Make no mistake. But he's trying to hand it to them. Why are the Republicans pointing at us? Oh, they're laughing. Why are they? Oh, that was us. Yeah, that's us. Yeah, okay, air high five. Okay. That is the level of childish, ridiculous partisan politics that we are dealing with from the left. They can't take a compliment. Even when it's handed to them, they can't take a compliment. You've got the Democrat who won in Arizona standing up. Trump is saying something positive about American jobs and American domestic economic policies coming out for the betterment of American citizens. She stands up and claps with the Republicans. She's like, yeah, I'll support that, absolutely. More people working's a good thing. The Democrat next to her stands up and says, watch your ass. Just threatened her. And she's like, yeah, okay. What? Time and time again yesterday, the point of these examples is very simple. There are plenty of other examples. You guys saw them. I saw them. Pelosi about spit out her dentures or whatever it is. Actually, my folks had a really interesting theory about that. That she's having a series of micro seizures, and that's why she's doing that. But the right side of her face doesn't do it as well as the left side of her face. I'm actually interested in that. I'm going to research that more. But point being, whatever it was, I call it trying to keep her dentures in. She's so not paying attention, she forgets to sit down. She's flipping through the pages. She's directing people. Yeah, you guys, stand up. Yeah, you just sit down. You, shut up. You know, she about told Crenshaw to shut up, which was great. By the way, Crenshaw was fantastic. The point being, we all saw what was going on. And we all heard we will never be a socialist country. All of these things we heard. This is the thought bubble. And you're met with scowls. You're met with disdain. You're met with mocking. If the Covington boys smirk was an assault smirk, please explain to me what Chuck Schumer was last night. Again, a clear division between what is acceptable for one group of Americans and what is acceptable for another group of Americans. Don't discredit that, because it all plays in to that same thought bubble. This thought bubble of, why are we trying to appease the liberals? You're saying all the right things, then you turn around and you're trying to give them compliments. You say all these things and you do all these things. We will never be a socialist nation. Really? You want me to believe that that's your stance on it? Let's go back now to the point that I was going to make about our energy and economic success being tied to one another. Do you know why in the past 2 years America has become economically and energy-wise such a powerhouse, such an absolute beast? Deregulation. It's been run through time and time again. Through Congress, through the Senate. All kinds of stuff has been backdoored on this topic of deregulation. The EPA is all but gutted. We have so many regulatory statutes losing their federal hold and going back to the states. That is exactly what we should be doing across the board. Not just economically and from energy. Now, I understand that that's Trump's powerhouse. That's where he does what he does. But I want you to think about this in the big picture. In one breath, you say, we will never be a socialist nation. All the while, during this whole speech, you are trying to talk them up and bring about a message of unity with these people who are absolutely outright rejecting what you're saying, and you are having no impact on reaching across the aisle. I don't care if you think that was his point or not. That was the message being displayed. And it fell on deaf ears both through the speech and into the rebuttal that they gave at the end. I mean, the rebuttal was the big... I've watched sound bites. I watched just a few minutes of it last night. I've watched sound bites of it today. It was an abhorrent joke. And yet you're trying to preach a message, go back to step 2, of unity with these people. When in reality, what you should have done was step 4. You want me to believe that your goal is to ensure that Democrats cannot have a socialist country established within the United States of America, or as the United States of America, in the next 30 years? You get done talking about the positives. You get done talking about the economy and the energy. You get done with those things. You get it all wrapped up. And you know what you do? My fellow Americans, for years you were told I can't wave a magic wand and make this stuff come back. For years you have been told we can't get our own energy, we have to go elsewhere to get it. For years you were told the overhead of going and getting our energy is expensive production, which means manufacturing and economic stimulus is not possible within the United States. For years you were told this by people from the left or sympathetic with the left. I have proven it wrong, and I have proven it wrong by one very, very simple thing, ladies and gentlemen. Deregulation. What do I mean by deregulation? I mean, we have cut this, and this. I mean, and it's actually much more than that. That sounds like an exaggeration. It's actually dumbing it down. We have cut all that from the EPA. The EPA no longer has the federal authority it once did. That authority is gone. You know why it's gone? Because the states now regulate that on a state-by-state basis. When we talk about tariff regulations and manufacturing regulations and shipping and distribution and logistic regulations and all this kind of stuff, we deregulated all of that from the federal aspect and we put it back to the states. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot have those things in a socialistic country. But I am proving to you today, I was proving to you yesterday, and I will continue proving to you for the next 2 years if the Democrats allow me to do it. Well, 2 years. That we can continue to grow, we can continue to have success, we can continue to return to our capitalistic origins and make America great again by rejecting the socialist programs of the left. There's a lot of you staring at me right now going, I hate that he said that. You hate that I said it because you know I'm right. Very, very simply, you want to make, if you want me to believe, you want to make me believe that you are not going to allow this to become a socialist country, that you are doing everything in your power to undercut future seat holders from turning us into a socialist country, you had every opportunity to do it right then and there. And instead you tried to offer an olive branch to the people who are literally standing and scowling at you as you talk about Americans being independent of the government. Lower unemployments, food stamps way down, scowls. Productivity up, GDP up, exports up, imports down, scowls. And you're trying to offer these people are literally standing there showing you they don't want America to succeed. But you're trying to send an olive branch to them? I don't believe you when you try to say it's never going to be a socialist country. You had every opportunity to undercut their socialist agenda, and you didn't take it. And I'm supposed to trust you? Why? Why? I'm not going to do that. Why am I not going to do it? Because it's very simple. You are underestimating the tenacity of the enemy. And they are the enemy. Anyone sympathetic with the socialist agenda is the enemy. Why? Because it is not an afforded authority of the federal government via the Constitution of the United States. It's not. Okay? You want a socialist environment? That comes down to a state-by-state area. Quite simply. You want socialism? California, New York, you name it. You got options. You can go to those states and it stays in those states and it doesn't leave those states. That's the whole point of why we are 50 independent governments under one unified roof. That's the concept. We don't hold to it anymore, but that's the point. We had an opportunity to drive a nail in the coffin last night. And rather than actually stand up, grow a spine, and be a leader, we did more of this olive branch BS. I'm sick of it. Why am I sick of it? Because I see the next chapter unfolding in front of me. It came about with the flub of Iran is bad. Iran does bad things. First off, probably the most least eloquent thing I've ever seen him say. Which, I'm not asking for pop culture president 2.0 or anything. I'm just saying there's a much better way to articulate what you just tried to put out there, boss. That was weak. It is bad. And I sit here and I think about the intrusion of liberal thought processes, ideologies, that have slowly corrupted our country over the past 30, 40, 50 years. And I couldn't help but make the connection in my head. 30, 40, 50 years ago, I want everybody to stop right now. If you're on a computer, open up another window. If you're on a phone, tablet, whatever, pause it. And I want you to go to Google or Bing. And I want you to do something for me. I want you to type in images 1970 Iran. 1960 Iran. Don't do that one unless you're not real squeamish, because there's some real graphic earthquake photos if you search that. 1950s Iran. Take a good long look. Then I want you to type in modern day Iran images. Pretty darn night and day difference, is it not? Sure is to me. You want to tell me that the geographic location that is Iran is the problem? You can do this with many countries in the Middle East. Afghanistan, Syria even more recently, by the way. What's another one? It might not be Jordan. I might be thinking of something else. Maybe Lebanon. I'm not sure. There's a few other countries that you can do it with, though, is the point, in the Middle East. You can do that exact same exercise with all of them. You want to sit here and tell me that a geographic location is the problem. Yet Israel was right there. Syria wasn't nearly so bad as everybody thinks it was before we bombed it to oblivion and created a power vacuum where just some radical Islam... Well, that's redundant, radical Islamist. Where some Islamist terrorist group is going to, move in and take over in the wake of a power vacuum there. Those countries seem magically immune to it. So geographic location might not play such a big role, huh? Could it be that yet again we are repeating ourselves? We are repeating history from recent history to recent history. Recent history to current time. You guys remember, again, for those of you who've been here for a long time, what my biggest argument against the wars in the Middle East have been? Not saying that Afghanistan didn't deserve to be obliterated for supporting the source of Al-Qaeda that attacked us. Totally fine with that. Here's my problem. We went into those wars fighting terrorism. What is terrorism? What is that? It's like saying we're fighting the war on drugs. What is the war on drugs? Look at everything that's in the war on drugs now. War on terrorism. What is the war on terrorism? Started here, then it went here, then it went here, then it went here, now it's here, now it's here, now it's here, now it's here. We don't know where the definition of terrorism ends today. Why? because George Bush, 41, didn't have the integrity, the moral authority, the backbone to call out what attacked us then. What attacked us then was Islam. In the same way that we don't have the moral authority or spine today to say what is crippling this nation is socialism, and I'm not going to point it out and prove it to you, I'm just going to say it while I offer socialists an olive branch. We are now saying Islam is not the problem. Iran as a geographical location is the problem. Geopolitical location is the problem. While offering an olive branch to the Islamists. Don't believe me? There was a woman wearing a headscarf on that congressional floor, scowling at the President of the United States the entire time, almost got up and left when he was talking about Israel. How's that working out for you? You're telling me that that wasn't all about appeasement? That that wasn't just a mass movement of appeasement? That was nothing but the most guarded, appeasing chess move I've ever seen from this president. And if George Bush had done it, either one of the Bushes had done it, if Barack Obama had done it, I would see nothing but memes about his links to the Muslim Brotherhood right here, right now. But I don't see any of that today because it's Trump, so we give it a pass and we don't call it what it was. It was an appeasement of Islam as Islam moves into our own government. As it's moving in, scowling at him, wishing him dead, wanting to see this country crumble, dancing under the Palestinian flag after winning a U.S. election. Yeah, I remember that. All that was wiped right away. We had a chance to call it out for what it was yet again. Didn't do it. Now we're going to blame the geopolitical location of Iran. How about we blame Islam because Islam is what does these things. Islam is what creates these problems. This is why we can't run the risk of any other Islamic countries getting their hands on the tech that Iran has. Doesn't have anything to do with their geopolitical location. It has to do with their radical ideology of Islam. Just like the radical ideology of socialism and communism in this country is actively seeking to destroy it, proof that it has been countered by deregulation, we're ignoring all of it. He ignored all of it. Every last part he ignored. When he had every opportunity to sit there and say, here is the solution for socialism, and we are not going to succumb to Islamic influence. Every opportunity to do those things. And rather than do that, he's trying to pass an olive branch. Folks, again, I have grown up in a world of political corruption. It's all I know from my own government. This is a move Obama would have made. This is a move Bush would have made. This is a move Clinton would have made. And it would have been called out, and rightly so. But because Trump does it, and we've already hearkened Trump to be Reagan 2.0, no one's calling it out. Whole bunch of non-issues. You want to wrap another issue into the socialism argument? Let's talk about the fact that for 2 years we've been in a position to stop this AIDS nonsense. Why are we even bringing this back up? Dawn Rice made a fantastic point. Pretty sure Occasional Cortez is sitting there protesting something that she doesn't even know what the heck AIDS actually is. And it's a valid point, and it's a legitimate point, and I'm telling you right now, it really actually does line up and make really, really good sense. To say, why are they protesting something they don't even know? It's out of the spotlight, it's out of this, it's out of that. Why? Because it was a concession to them. AIDS was their big thing. Has been for 20... Dang it, I don't have it up anymore. Billy Ruth is going to get me on this. Sorry, Billy. I'm sorry. 26 years, 28 years, something like that. It's been their thing for that. For the past 2 years, we've been in a position where we get to go in and eliminate all the global funding for this crap. Why? Because when you say the global fight against AIDS, you don't mean global fight against AIDS. You mean Africa is what you mean. And we've been dumping billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars into this for the past almost 3 decades. And we have not actually improved anything. Things have actually gotten worse. Shocker. Because AIDS is not the problem. The cultural lifestyles there are the problem. If you want to fight AIDS, you don't dump more money into it. You don't say you're arguing scientific research on a global scale. That's not how you do any of this. What you do is you say, we are open to helping usher you guys into some modern era where you don't practice the heathenistic lifestyles that you practice now to help diminish the spread of AIDS within your borders. That's what you do. Rather than do that, we say we're going to eradicate AIDS in the U.S. and abroad. U.S., fine. Okay, don't get me wrong, there's much more worthy causes for our taxpayer dollars to go to than AIDS. AIDS is preventable. It is. By and large. I understand there's... see, I'm going to take crap for that, but whatever. I understand there's the whole, like, completely and totally random, I didn't do anything, it was a needle, an injection, an infusion, and I don't know what happened. I get it. I'm talking about from a standpoint of sexual practices. That being said, while there are much more reasonable ways to spend that money, I'm not against it. Because I think that you can develop a whole ton of autoimmune theoreticals and applications and all kinds of good stuff from this research within the United States. Our funding through the World Health Organization, as previously mentioned, Billy Ruth so eloquently put, has been on the books for years, is still on the books and everything. Yes. And in the same way that we deregulated so much that we have deregulated over the past 2 years, we could have cut that out entirely, if not the majority of it entirely. There's no excuse for that. That's throwing a bone to the social. That is reinforcing socialistic practices. Socialism, by nature, takes the tax money from the citizens and gives it to other places, both foreign and domestic and foreign. You're going to tell me you're going to make sure that we're not a socialistic country and never will be a socialistic country, yet you're supporting socialistic causes. You want me to believe that we're not going to be a socialistic country? Get us out of the UN. You've been running your mouth about it for 2 years. Get us out. Funding included. The double standard that was applied to this speech last night disgusts me. Yes, there was good, but this nonsense about almost 80% approval ratings of the president's speech blows me away. I am so disheartened with the majority of Americans today for all the reasons I just listed. It reminds me of a movie that came out not too terribly long ago, where a very well acted movie. It was a very well acted movie. Politics in the movie were garbage. The American President with Michael Douglas and Michael J. Fox. Michael Douglas? No, that's not his. You know what movie I'm talking about. That's probably, I don't know if that's his name. I think it is. Wow, brain fart. Anyways, there's this part you can respect no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. And it's one of the few reasons why the movie is semi-tolerable to watch. Michael J. Fox's character says, people want leadership. And in the absence of leadership, they will listen to anyone who steps up to the microphone. They want leadership, Mr. President. They're so thirsty for it. They'll crawl through the desert towards a mirage, and when they discover there's no water, they'll drink the sand. And the president's character sits there, starts his retort, and wraps it up with, they don't drink the sand because they're thirsty. They drink the sand because they don't know the difference. And it's supposed to be this huge gaffe, but you know what? He's right. 80% of Americans right now, today, are drinking the sand. There was no substantial leadership outside of the economic and energy boundary. There was no substantial leadership presented in that. Give me a leader who has the spine that Churchill had with the Nazis. Churchill repeatedly reminded people in his cabinets across all manners of government that the Germans were once great people. That the Germans themselves were not the problem. The problem was the ideology of Nazism, of Nazi fascism. That was what created the problem there. Give me a leader who is willing to say that about liberal ideologies in this country. Give me a leader who is willing to say that about Islamic ideologies, both in this country and abroad, and I will follow that man to the depths of hell. Because that is a man who knows what it is to be a leader. Not everything you say is going to be popular when you are in a leadership position. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. It is counterproductive to the role of being a leader, to appease everyone. You can't be. Yet that is what I saw last night. Two opportunities to target two of the main enemies of the United States Constitution, and nothing was done about it. Not a thing. What did I learn from the State of the Union last night? I learned I've got to keep getting my hopes up. I've got to keep getting my hopes up. I have to stop getting my hopes up. I have got to stop getting my hopes up that we are ever going to divert from the course that we're on, because it was teed up, ready for the taking. And there was no capitalization on it last night. None. It was right there for the taking, and we didn't do it. To me, that means we have very little chance of actually doing anything about it. I learned that the man is going to run on re-election for economic principle alone. It's going to be very hard to do a late 2020 presidential run and harp on deregulation and all these kinds of things now, because you're not going to get it through Congress anymore. You're not. You're going to go back 2 years and try to make the argument of, look how much better we were then because we had things deregulating and all this kind of stuff, and then the Democrats put in, and it's going to come across as nothing but finger pointing because you're not setting the precedent for it now. You're not linking it back to right now. I said in February of 2019 at the State of the Union that the deregulation was what was working. Now the deregulation has been stonewalled. You've missed that opportunity. It's gone. So that means to me you're going to campaign on economic principle alone. You'll throw in a few other things, but by and large, your voter base is going to vote for you on economics. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's very difficult for me to believe somebody who promised me 4 things, delivered on 1, 1.5, and then backed out on everything else. He's certainly not going to run on Second Amendment principle. That's not going to happen. You want to talk about dodging bullets like a champ. No pun intended. NSA's about to kick in my door now. Great. Screwed that up. The bottom line is, for me, I understand that there is still a massive crowd sitting here going, come talk to me, as my father so eloquently put it, come talk to me on the 15th and the 16th and we'll see what's going on. And I promise you guys, if I am wrong on all this, I will eat my crow just as publicly as I have put out my opinions. Okay? I really, genuinely, truly will. But I'm not wrong. So I don't have a whole lot of worry about it. If you watched episode 7, you know I said this was the last chance for the wall. I still ascribe to that. You're not getting a wall. You're not getting a barrier. You're not getting anything. It's not going to happen. Again, I know, wait till the 15th. Yeah, I know. Wait till the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. Almost said 30th. 28th. 10th of March. 14th of June. It's not going to happen, folks. That ship has sailed. By and large, we had an opportunity for unprecedented leadership to step forward in this country last night. We didn't get it. We got a feel-good, fluffy unity speech because for some reason the president wants to unite with people who want to destroy this country through socialism, all the while saying we will never be a socialist country. Can't unite with people who want to destroy everything you claim to stand for. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way. That is why you need good men who are comfortable with violence. That is the road we are headed down. That is the road we no longer, I don't think, have a chance to divert from. This was either the last chance or one of the last chances we have to divert from this path. And that's that. It's gone now. Rub dirt on it, drive on. Drink water, change your socks. Motrin, Motrin, Motrin. Band-Aid on an arterial bleed, folks. That's where we're at. And they will drink the sand. That's all I got for today, guys. Episode 8, State of the Union. We're wrapping it up. Please, by all means, like, follow, share. I know that chances are I'm actually going to have a reduction in people following the page after this one. I don't mind. Don't forget, it's not just the page, it's also the YouTube channel where you're actually watching this at. Go to youtube.com, search the Civically Minded Nationalist. You will see me there. Take it easy, guys. Don't do anything stupid. Weekend's just around the corner. Hump day's half over. We're on the downhill side. Things can only look up from here. That's not true. I shouldn't have said that. That was a horrible thing to say. Stand by to stand by.